Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. So greatly appreciate it. Before we start, let me give you my usual disclaimer that this video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next, if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please do so. It really helps me out. I would really appreciate it. Okay, let's get started. Dr. Mary Yoder was born on March 18th, 1955 in Buffalo, New York, to parents Norma and Arthur. She was one of 8 siblings with 5 sisters and 2 brothers. After high school, Mary attended 2 years of community college, and then she decided that she wanted to attend the University of Buffalo. She would end up renting a room in a boarding house that Bill Yoder was also renting a room in. Mary and Bill would start off as friends because Mary had a boyfriend. Shortly after Mary moved into the boarding house, she announced that her and her boyfriend had broken up. This is when Bill swooped in and asked Mary out on a date. And the rest is history. Bill grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. After he graduated high school, he did a 3-year overseas tour with the United States Army. After his tour was done, Bill returned to the United States and lived in Buffalo, New York. Because he had friends in the philosophy graduate program at the University of Buffalo, he decided to move into the boarding house with them and complete his doctorate. Bill and Mary would decide to relocate out west and find a place to settle down and finish their degrees. They settled in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They both worked at a Pizza Hut while finishing. About a year into this, Bill proposed to Mary, and the couple married, packed up again, and moved back east to Utica, New York. Mary earned her doctorate in chiropractic medicine from Life Chiropractic College in 1986. She was wholeheartedly holistic and believed in therapeutic power of healing. She loved gardening, dancing, especially Bollywood, ballet, and African dancing. She was a gifted artist and pursued photography, painting, and pottery. She was a member of the World Music Choir, singing and drumming as a talented musician. She was an affiliate of the New York State Chiropractic Association and a patron of the Munson Williams Proctor Arts Institute. Bill and Mary were married for 40 years, and they had 3 children together, Liana, Tamron, and 10 years after that, Adam. They owned the Chiropractic Family Care in Whitesboro for 28 years. Youngest son, Adam, graduated high school in 2007. After this, he decided to attend Mohawk Valley Community College to pursue a degree in digital animation and theater. But he would end up dropping out of college 2 years after this, and this actually becomes like a pattern with him. In 2011, Adam would be introduced to a girl named Caitlin Conley through a mutual friend at her graduation party. By the end of the summer, Adam and Caitlin were pretty serious and completely committed to each other. It's important to note, though, that this couple would fight a lot, they would have constant breakups, and they had a very toxic relationship. Their arguments were often loud and with vicious words. Okay, so who's Caitlin Conley, right? 24-year-old Caitlin Conley is one of 7 daughters to parents Vincent and Kathleen Conley. Katie was described by friends and family as smart and driven. She was the daughter of a former Army major and was raised with certain values and morals. She was an avid tennis player in high school and graduated the top 10% of her class. After high school, Caitlin went on to earn her associate's degree from Mohawk Valley Community College in liberal arts. Following that, she took classes at Utica College and the State of New York Polytechnic Institute, where she received a bachelor's degree in business in May of 2016. She was also part of the National Honor Society in high school and in college. She had a soft spot for animals and was an avid traveler, having visited places such as Ireland, Germany, the Bahamas, and Canada. Her dream was to travel the world before settling down to have a family. While this is a very impressive resume, if you have watched enough true crime, you know that this does not mean that you are not capable of doing vicious and illegal acts. You'll understand what I mean in a little bit. Not long into their relationship, Adam and Caitlin began planning their lives together. 2013, Adam was working in his parents' chiropractic office as the manager while trying to figure out his next steps in life. He decided to go back to school in 2013. Full-time school and full-time work was just too much for him, and it began to take a toll on him. So he asked his parents if he could split his hours with Caitlin. He would go to school full-time and work at the chiropractic office part-time, and then Caitlin would work the hours that he was missing. His parents were a little apprehensive about this, but they decided to say yes, and I think mainly because they were just happy that he was going to go back to school. Then not long after this, in 2014, Adam would quit working for his parents completely, and Caitlin would take over the position full-time. In the summer of 2015, Bill began to cut his hours in preparation for retirement. He would work the office twice a week, and Mary would work the office the other 3 days. On his spare time, he would focus on writing his book. Mary would drive to Amish country after work and provide treatment for them, believing that they deserved the right to these types of treatments, but knew the office was too far away for them to take the horse and buggy there. So this was a good woman. Because Mary worked these long hours, and because she was so health conscious, she would often drink a protein shake at lunch with the powder and almond milk that she kept in the office. In the summer of 2015, Mary left for work at about 7:45 a.m. Bill was eating his breakfast when she left, and all was business as usual. Mary spent the morning seeing patients, and they would testify that she was normal, happy, and feeling great during their appointment. She went to visit her mom during her lunch and returned back to the office at 1:30, stating that she had intended to have lunch with her mom, but when she got there, her mother wasn't hungry. At around 4:30, Mary called her husband and told him that she was feeling sick. Between 6:45 and 7 p.m., Mary arrives home and runs into the bathroom to vomit. She would then spend the next 30 minutes in the bathroom vomiting. As soon as she could muster up the strength to stand, she grabbed the bucket, walked over to the couch, and laid down. She would vomit for 2 more hours after this. At 9:30 p.m., she told her husband to go to bed. She just wanted to lay on the couch, and she just wanted to be alone. So that's what Bill did. I get that. July 21st, 2015. Bill wakes up at about 6:30 in the morning, and he goes downstairs to check on Mary. When he goes down, he sees that she's sitting up, so he feels a little bit of a relief, assuming that this means that she felt better. Except she wasn't feeling better. She had, in fact, been up all night vomiting and was in excruciating pain. Bill calls their daughter, Liana, who is a general practitioner, and she tells her father to take mom to the ER because she needs an IV of fluid. At about 9 a.m., Bill takes Mary to the hospital. Doctors gave her the IV drip along with pain medication and medicine to stop the vomiting. After a short while, Mary was feeling a little better, but she was still unable to stand on her own. At 3 p.m., Bill rushed home to get Mary her inhaler because she was having a lot of trouble breathing. So she thought maybe the inhaler would help. When he returned, he saw a bunch of doctors around her working on her and giving her nebulizer treatments. Test results would determine that Mary did not have a virus or a bacterial infection. July 22nd, 2015. Bill would wake up to troopers banging on his door. They told him that the hospital had been trying to reach him. to let him know that Mary had taken a turn for the worse and that he needed to get over to the hospital. So Bill got dressed, called his kids, and ran over to the hospital. By 2 p.m., Adam and Tamron were at the hospital, and Sister Liana was on her way. She arrived very shortly after that. Mary had coded several times at this point. Once so bad that the doctor thought for sure that she was brain dead. Her arms and legs were so swollen that she couldn't move them. Mary appeared to be dying, and the doctors had no idea why. Scary. That's scary. At 2:23 p.m., Mary would suffer her 8th cardiac arrest. Doctors worked on Mary for 30 minutes trying to bring her back to life, but this time it was unsuccessful. At 2:53 p.m. on July 22nd, 2015, Mary would pass away. Doctors were so puzzled by this case that they asked Bill for permission to perform an autopsy. And of course, Bill was like, yes, please, anything. I want to know what happened. No problems. He gave no problems. July 25th, 2015. The same day as Mary's granddaughter's 2nd birthday, the family held a vigil for her. She wanted to be cremated, and the coroner's office hadn't released her body yet. So instead of your traditional wake and funeral, the family had a celebration of life in Mary's backyard amongst her garden, which she was so incredibly proud of. Katie Conley was there all day alongside Adam and even brought the family hundreds of dollars worth of food. Husband Bill actually stayed in his bedroom all day because he told his children that it was just too difficult for him to come downstairs and deal with. Back at the medical examiner's office, doctors are trying to figure out what happened to Mary. Dr. Clark begins looking under slides of cells from Mary's organs, and that's when he realizes that the cells appear as though they are killing themselves. This is his first clue that Mary may have either taken something or had been given something that caused her death. They looked at food from her garden, and they tested all the supplements that she takes, and everything came back negative. The doctor then orders tests for heavy metals and your common poisons like arsenic and cyanide. They come back negative. Okay. So now the doctors don't know. Mary was poisoned, but they don't know how, they don't know why. Now the doctors know that Mary was poisoned, but they don't know how and they don't know why. The medical examiner declares Mary's death a homicide. By now, Mary's body has been released to the family, and they have cremated her per her wishes. With only 1 pint left of Mary's blood, Dr. Clark had to be very careful about what he did with it. Because remember, she's cremated now. That's it. There's nothing left of her. So he reaches out to Poison Control for help, and he gets in touch with Dr. Gina. Dr. Gina says that based on the timeline of events, from the onset of symptoms to her death, along with the cardiac events, these are indicative of colchicine poisoning. Colchicine, what is it? Colchicine is a medicine, if given in small doses, helps with gout and inflammation of the joints. If you give the medicine in high doses, or if you give the medicine to somebody that does not have gout, they could become extremely ill and may even pass as a result of ingesting it. So, of course, as with all homicides, detectives look at the spouse first. Bill and Mary were definitely not in a rock-solid relationship. They were in quite a bit of debt. There was no retirement fund, and Bill had dreamed of a huge retirement vacation that they could not afford. He also began growing marijuana to sell as a side hustle, and they're in the process of selling the business, which would have given them extra money after they sold it. Bill also began taking random business trips out of town. And Bill was allegedly sleeping with Mary's sister, Kathy. A neighbor would even testify that her and her daughter were walking one day and they saw Bill and Kathy on Kathy's front steps in a very romantic kiss. Okay. Bill adamantly denies that he was in a relationship with his sister-in-law while Mary was alive. However, they are admittedly very much in a relationship after her death. So I suppose it's just a matter of, do you believe that he was banging his sister-in-law before his wife died? Yes or no? Because they are very much open about their relationship after Mary's death. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure this out. Personally, in my opinion. Detectives were preparing to call Bill in for questioning when they get a call from the medical examiner about an anonymous letter that he receives. A few hours later, the sheriff's office receives the exact same letter, saying in part, "Please forward to acting investigators. I know police are currently looking into this death, but I don't know where to send this information." This is in regards to the July 22nd, 2015 death of Mary Yoder in Utica, New York. If the toxin found in her was colchicine, Adam Yoder, her son, is responsible. He told me he did it, and moreover, he told me how and where he put the rest of the toxin. He felt she was unfair to him, and he resented that. She should have helped him more. When I saw him a couple of days ago, he appeared agitated and said he was the reason for her death, and he wished he could take it back. Then he said he had bought a bottle of colchicine offline and put the toxin in one of her vitamins when he was over his parents' house. He said his mom noticed that he was agitated at the time, and she thought it was since he was drinking at their house. Adam said he told her no, the beer was not the reason he was disturbed, and to drop it. He said he apologized to his parents for ruining the holiday, Father's Day, and left. Adam was upset people weren't paying attention to him. He felt he deserved more attention and thought people would be nicer to him. He acted resentful and belligerent to his family and became visibly irritated that people kept talking about his mom. He said he expected a financial payout after her death, which did not come. After he found out he was not getting the money he thought he would, he said he regretted what he did, was hysterical, and didn't know what he was going to do, but he had ideas. The letter also informed police that they would find the bottle of colchicine under the front passenger seat of his car. I have a lot of issues with this. Why would you write this in an anonymous letter? Why wouldn't you go down to the police station? Why didn't you write this letter before he poisoned his mom? Since you knew that he was thinking of harming her. Why didn't you tell Adam's parents about his devious plan? And lastly, why would Adam keep the poison under his passenger seat of his car? And if he was going to keep it in his car, why would he keep it under the passenger seat where it's more likely to be found? Because if your passenger reaches under their seat of their car, you could feel it. Why wouldn't he keep it under the driver's seat where nobody's going to reach down and find it? December 8th, 2015. Police call Adam down to the station and tell him about the letter. He looks super confused about this information, and then they ask him if they could search his car. So Adam says sure, because in Adam's mind, there's nothing to find. They're not going to find anything. During the search, they find the bottle of colchicine under the passenger seat, just like the note said they would. The bottle was in a cardboard wrapper, And detectives would say that Adam was clearly shocked. He was not expecting anything to be found. There was also an online receipt for the bottle. The receipt states that the bottle was shipped to the family's chiropractic office on January 5th, 2015. The email address that is linked to the account is Mr. Adam Yoder 1990 at gmail.com. Adam tells detectives that although this is similar to his email address, that particular address does not belong to him. Adam goes back into the interview room with detectives and tells them that he had nothing to do with this. That he wasn't even in town on the night that his mother got sick. He was visiting his sister in Long Island. Police would subpoena his Easy Pass, and it would indeed corroborate his story. Then detectives ask Adam if there's anybody that would want to hurt his mom, and he says no. By all accounts, she was an amazing woman. Then they ask him if he thinks that his father did it and is framing him, and he says absolutely not. No way. So next they decide to call in Bill and Mary's office manager and Adam's ex-girlfriend, Caitlin, for questioning. Caitlin tells detectives that she does not think that Bill had anything to do with Mary's death, but she can't be sure. She then shifts her focus of blame onto Adam. She tells detectives how she's scared of Adam and how police can't protect her. That's when detectives realize that the statements being made by Caitlin in the interview were almost identical to the statements that were made in the anonymous letter. That's when detectives ask her if she is the author of the anonymous letter. Caitlin stares blankly but doesn't answer. This is a huge red flag for investigators, and they ask again, were you the author of the anonymous letter? She then stated that she was indeed the author of the letter, and it was at that point that Caitlin went from being a witness to the prime suspect. Next, they subpoena her cell phone, and they find out that the Mr. Adam Yoder email address was used to purchase the colchicine was added to her personal cell phone as an account on the phone and only accessed in two places, Caitlin's home and Caitlin's job. The DNA found on the cardboard wrapper the bottle was in belonged to Caitlin and no one else. And the DNA from the stamp on the anonymous letter also matches Caitlin's DNA. June 13th, 2016, with all the DNA evidence against Caitlin Connolly, officers arrest her and charge her with second-degree murder in the death of Mary Yoder. The state could prove that the anonymous letter was composed at the chiropractic office. They could show the timeline of the letter being written, and they could show that the letter was edited before it was sent out. From the receipt in the car, prosecutors know that the colchicine was processed from art chemicals. Okay? They were able to find the actual person that filled the order. When they interviewed this woman, she said that she reached out to the person that was placing the order, and the person she spoke to was a young woman with a very soft voice. Every time the Adam Yoder Gmail account was created, accessed, or terminated, it was done through a device that belonged to Caitlin. It is believed that when Caitlin saw that Adam was truly moving on with his life, that she decided that if he wasn't going to be with her, then she was going to take away what he loved most in this world, and that was his mom. Bitch. It is also believed that she either prepared the shake for Mary that day, or that she put the colchicine in the protein powder that Mary kept at the office. May 18th, 2017. After 5 days, the jury is unable to agree on a verdict, and the judge declares a mistrial. Within weeks, though, the state decides that they are going to try Caitlin again. There would be a 6-month gap in between the trials. And during this 6-month gap, while they were waiting for Caitlin's second trial to begin, prosecutors were able to do a little bit more digging, and they would find that there were searches done on Caitlin's phone researching lethal poisons, and that she accessed articles that would show the mathematical formula computing Mary Yoder's weight in pounds to kilograms, and then determining how much colchicine would be needed for it to be fatal for a woman her size. They also found that the password used to access the Mr. Adam Yoder email account was Adam is gay. It seems very unlikely that Adam would use that password for himself. But it makes perfect sense that a scorned ex would use that password.
As far as any of us can guess, she did so to cause me maximum pain and to devastate me completely and permanently. And she did exactly that. In truth, part of the reason I didn't want to make a statement today is because I didn't want to give her that satisfaction. But make no mistake, as much as I hate her, which is more than I ever thought I would be capable of hating anyone, I hate myself infinitely more. I introduced her to my family. I got her a job with my parents. And if I hadn't done those things, my mother would still be alive. And I live with that pain and the torture of that truth. There hasn't been a single day since the first trial where I haven't suffered from that. And I promise every person in this courtroom that I will carry that with me for the rest of my life.
We swam and played outside, enjoying the sunshine and the start of summer. Late afternoon, she headed home, and was tradition, the kids all gathered on the front porch to wave goodbye. She backed out of the driveway with the windows down and the boys yelling, "We love you, Grandma. We miss you. Don't go." And her smiling and waving and calling back, "I love you all. I'll see you soon." Knowing she would be back in just a few short weeks for their sister's birthday party didn't matter to them. They never wanted her to go. The kids ran, laughing in bare feet to the edge of the lawn, calling and waving until her taillights were out of sight. They never saw her again. My mom died 3 days before my daughter's second birthday. The birthday party became a funeral. My mom's celebration of life was on my daughter's second birthday.
January 11th, 2018. 2 years after Mary Yoder's death, Caitlin Connolly is found guilty and sentenced to 23 years in prison.
With all due respect to the justice system and to our jury system, I'm innocent. I would like to thank my family and friends and strangers for standing up in support of me. That's all. Thank you.
One more thing I want to point out. She maintains her innocence. And there is a huge divide. This is the craziest thing. Personally, in my opinion, with all this evidence, there is a huge divide between the families, with some of Mary's sisters believing that Caitlin is innocent and fighting for her to be released, and believing that their brother-in-law or their nephew did it. It's a big thing. Her sisters and her nephews are rallying for Caitlin Connolly, believing that she is innocent and that she was falsely accused, even though there's all this evidence that against her. What do you think? Okay, if you're still here, thank you. I appreciate you so very much. If you have any suggestions, please email me, harding527@yahoo.com. As long as the information is on my site, I'm pretty good about covering your cases. And until next time, guys,